take effing action, put it together, and subscribe to Tom Penn's channel on YouTube now. Yeah, I like it. It's crazy.
So I want to talk about racism in Asia. So I've been in Vietnam for about 9 years. I can't really say I've experienced any racism here in Vietnam because I think generally, not always, but generally Vietnamese people are courteous, they're nice, and they're not really confrontational. And at least in the day-to-day interactions, people are generally not aggressive, right? So I really haven't experienced any in person, although I know that Vietnamese people don't like Chinese people, for example, and that sometimes comes out on the internet when you're not in a face-to-face situation. You see how Vietnamese people write about the Chinese people, and that's a little bit saddening. Even though I have a Chinese last name, I lived most of my life in Canada, so I really identify myself as a Canadian. I've been educated in the West. I have a very Western mindset parents. Basically, I am the opposite of Asian culture. So for me to see some of those writings online about how Vietnamese people hate Chinese people, for me it's kind of silly. I just don't quite understand why that is even necessary. The reason why people perpetuate racism is because generally they're not educated, they're ignorant, they don't have all the facts, and they don't have the intellectual capacity to understand that every person is different, right? They like to group everybody into one class of people. Like, for example, all Cambodians are X, all Canadians are Y. So those are the reasons why people have racist beliefs. I also believe that the successful people, the people that are successful in career, in their business, people that are intellectuals, people that are educated, they generally don't have these racist attitudes because, first of all, they don't really have time to think about that, right? Second, they understand that it's all about the results. It's not about whether you're Chinese or Vietnamese or Canadian or American. It's about results. They see each person as an individual, and each individual is responsible for their own results. This is a very important mindset for business people to have, right? For example, like North and South Vietnamese people have certain bias against each other. South people like to call the North people certain things, and North people like to call South people certain things. I think that's like ridiculous. But for me, I have no bias. Like, I hire people from the North, I hire people from the South, I hire people from the middle of Vietnam. I hire people from everywhere, right? Because I know that it's about the results. It's not about where you come from. It's about what result can you produce. And successful people generally have that mindset. So as I was growing up in Canada and also lived in Vietnam for 9 years, I never really had much experience of racism personally. Nobody ever, come to me and say, you fucking Chinese or you fucking Canadian, right? So that never really happened, although probably in my childhood, there's been a couple incidences where people call me chink or Chinaman. But I don't take that seriously, and I don't think they're racially motivated. I think they're just being children, and therefore I don't think I've really experienced any personal racism. Even if I had, let's say if somebody comes to me and say, Tom, you're fucking Chinese, you get out of fucking Vietnam or whatever, right? I am not going to be bothered by it because I understand sensitivity equals poverty, right? If you're going to be so sensitive to what everybody says, then you're going to be fucking poor, right? For me, I don't really care about people's feelings. I don't care about what they think about me. I don't care about what they feel about me because those things are irrelevant. They're not important. So if I am going to go through life, thinking about how other people think about me, think about how other people see me, think about how other people feel about me, then I would just be so paralyzed because I would be so troubled by it, right? I don't focus on that. I focus on results. I focus on achievement. I focus on doing great things. And when you're going to do great things, everybody's gonna doubt you. Everybody's gonna attack you. Everybody's gonna, go against you, right? And that's just normal. And if you talk to any successful entrepreneur, they will tell you the same, right? right? So I don't take that seriously. I don't really pay attention to it. Sensitivity equals poverty, right? If you're gonna be emotional, you're gonna worry about your own feelings so much, you're gonna be poor, man. So for those people that cannot see other people as individuals, I would like to say you're gonna be fucking poor too, because you're gonna miss all the opportunities. China is Vietnam's biggest trade partner, and you have a bias towards China, and you don't wanna talk to Chinese people, you don't wanna do business with Chinese people. Sucks to be you. I do business with Chinese people, even though I'm a Canadian. My biggest partner is Alibaba.com, the world's largest e-commerce company, period, right? So don't let your bias get in the way of results, right? And if you are gonna have so much bias about this kind of people, that kind of people, then you're not gonna have much success doing anything, because you basically rule out all the possibilities. You cannot do business with this kind of person. You don't want to do business with the northern people. You don't want to do business from people from, the west side of south. And like, if you rule all those things out, you can't really do anything. So let me tell you a story. During World War I, all right? This is a story about the Germans and the British. The British and the Germans were fighting in World War I. And in the Battle of Ypres, in World War I. And World War I is a really ugly war. It's the first time in history that, people fought with mechanized weapons, guns, that can go pop, 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 right? And people dig trenches, soldiers dig trenches. And they stay in the trenches for weeks and months, and it was raining, and there's like mud everywhere. They have no toilets, they basically shit wherever they are, they eat where they are. It was an ugly, ugly, ugly war, right? A lot of people died, and when people died, there's no place to put them. So they just basically, the corpses are all over the place, right? There's a dead person there, there's a dead person here, and you're waiting here to die, basically. So that is World War I, a very, very ugly war. The Germans and the British, they were in a war, Battle of Ypres, and it was Christmas Eve, right? The night before Christmas. And the British heard the Germans over the hill that they were singing. They're singing Christmas carols. And they seemed to be having a good time. And eventually the Germans call out to the British. They call, Tommy, Tommy! And Tommy is like a slang term for British people, right? Hey, Tommy, come over. I promise we won't shoot you. Just come over, right? And then the British was like, should we go? Should we not go? Should we go? And eventually, the British kind of carefully, walked over the line and joined the Germans, right? And then for one night, remember, Battle of Ypres is very intense. So these are like enemies, they're trying to kill each other. But for that one night, the British crossed the border, they joined the Germans. Despite the language barriers, they speak different language, have different culture. They try to talk to each other, they try to understand each other. They even played some games of football, right? They brought out the ball and they started playing football. And they had a good time. They started drinking and sharing stories, and for one night, they stopped seeing the enemy as monsters. They see each other as human beings. So guess what happened afterwards? The British went back. The Germans went back to their trenches. They didn't want to kill each other anymore because they see each other as humans. They all share the same stories. They all have families. Some of them are married, and some have children. And they see each other as people. Right? Not what the government told them. The government told them they're fucking monsters, right? But they see that's not true, right? So for the first day, for the second day, they did not try to kill each other. Eventually, the German high command passed down the order, shoot the British. And then the German soldiers, they were like, I don't want to do that, right? How about this? Let's yell out, hey, Tommy, we're gonna shoot at you. Stay low, we're gonna shoot high so that you won't get hit, stay safe, right? So the German passed the message to the British, and all the British people stayed low, and the Germans, they shoot high, so nobody got injured. So another day passed, nobody died, all right? And then, of course, both sides probably got wind of the story, like what is happening. And eventually the British is like, dude, this is a fucking war, all right? Anybody who's not going to kill the enemy, we're gonna fucking execute you. So the order came down to that effect. Unfortunately, the generals got what they want, and they went back to killing each other. And the ugliness of war continued. So I want you to see people as individuals. I want you to put away your bias, because most of it is not true, all right? The people that have racist thoughts, they're generally poor and stupid. They get used by people in power. So that's how Hitler, for example, got his power. I want to say Donald Trump, but there's some truth there too, right? So poor people have racist attitudes, rich people do not, but some rich people with power, they use the fact that people are ignorant, they're racist, they're stupid, they use that to advance their power. Do you understand? Are you still gonna be racist? Don't be a fucktard. Take fucking action. Treat people like individuals.